This is, of course, a zero tolerance Model 200 folding tactical knife. Zero tolerance is the tactical subdivision of Kershaw knives, and from all indications they are producing some outstanding blades. Now, like with all designs, there are a few caveats which I will mention, things that perhaps I would like to see changed, but that's just me. Your uses and your needs for your tactical knives may vary, but I'll just provide my take on it like I always do, and a little bit of philosophy. Let's first talk about the category of this knife, as I often do. It is, of course, a folding tactical knife, but I'll put an asterisk next to that because it's kind of in the category of heavy duty knives, whether they be folding or fixed blade. And in that category we get a lot of strength, but we also get a fair amount of weight to carry too. And this knife, like its brother, the 302, the ZT302, which I just reviewed, they're heavy. And this one weighs in at 8 ounces. The 302, this bad boy right here, is 8.2 ounces. They're almost identical in weight, which surprises me actually, because the 200, the bottom one, has pillar construction. There's no G10 spacer in there like there is for the 302. It has drilled out liners inside the handle. See if I can let you see those. So that saves a little bit of weight. You can see the drilled out portions there. Both sides, by the way. So good job, Kershaw, drilling those out. And this one, by the way, the 302 does not have a drilled out. The side, the liner side, which is covered with a G10 scale from my video, I forgot to mention that, it's not drilled out. But you know what, it's such a minuscule point because you're not going to save much weight on what is already a fairly big and fairly heavy knife, the 302. However, the 200 is drilled out, pillar construction, and interestingly it has a thinner profile blade versus the 302. You can see that how it's narrower in width. However, it still weighs 8 ounces. So we have to ask ourselves, is that good weight? And again, everything I've said before applies. To some users, it's great weight. They want a knife that approaches fixed blade strength in a folding design. The 200, I think, would deliver on that, just like its brother, the 302. So that's a decision you have to make. You know, would I carry this knife around as an EDC or tactical folder? No way. It's just too heavy for me. It's 8 ounces. That's a lot. And I have so many other options that are around 4 ounces that will serve the same purpose, at least for the purposes I'd put my knife through. So let's talk about some specifics of the 200, and there's a lot of good to talk about. Well, if you can get past the weight of the ZT knives, and if that's not a factor for you, then it's pretty much all good. You're going to dig them. And in this version, this is actually fairly affordable. The internet price, and when I talk internet price, I'm talking if you want to go out and buy a new knife, not a used one, a new knife from a reputable dealer, and I'm going to use newgram.com as a good example. Newgram is an excellent dealer in Virginia. I've bought a lot of knives from them. I love them. They have fair prices, generally speaking. Their price on the ZT200, as of today, my checking is $128, and it was in stock. That's not a bad price on such an extremely heavy duty and strong folding knife. That's a lot of value, in my opinion, for a knife like that. Now contrast that with the 300, and that was more expensive. Remember, we talked about that, more or less the internet price as of July 2008 was $236. A lot more than that knife. And yet these knives are very similar in function. But I'll show you why the price differences exist here as I go along. But just be aware that this ZT200 is a heck of a lot of knife for 128 bucks. You'll be very hard pressed to find the strength of folder in another knife, at least the ones that I've seen so far, for $128. And you might find it for less somewhere, I don't know. So let's talk with the specifics, and I'm going to start off with the thumb stud. The thumb stud on the 200 is so much better. It's the same thumb stud, but the way it was executed with the handle is so much better on the 200 than how you doing on the 300. This is what I mean. Look at the difference. Look how the handle material and the handle itself comes so close to that thumb stud in the 300. In the 200, it's nicely recessed, so we can, how you doing, actually access it. The 300, it's tough. You're going to have to dig on the very rim of that thumb stud, and if you have gloves on, forget it. In my mind, the 300 is pretty much a tang only deployment. You flip it out that way. The 200, take your pick. You can go thumb stud. Makes a nice solid lockup sound when you deploy that 200 too. Really nice. You can go thumb stud, or in these particular knives, I just prefer the tang. It just works really nicely. So, a little bit of difference there. How about the blade? Well, that's some of the cost difference. This blade is not S30V steel, the darling child of the knife world. It's 154 cm. Also a very excellent knife blade material. I love it. And I've talked a lot about it in other videos. Good edge retention, good toughness, adequate stainlessness, more or less. Whereas the 300 had that S30V steel. Remember I said that that's one of the reasons it's so expensive, and I still say that. So the 200 has a little bit less of a steel, if you will. Not much, but a little bit. It's also a non-assisted opening knife. The 300 has a little spring assist. The 200 is not. It's completely manual action. But you know what? It's just as fast, if not faster, than that 302, in my opinion. So, how about the blade shape? Well, the blade is almost identical in length to the 302. And again, I throw the ruler up here just as a quick measurement. So it's about 3 3/4 inches long. Has that Ken Onion touch to it, being the reverse curvature, the flowing kind of organic shape that he does his blades in sometimes, and I like it. This knife blade design right here on the 200, I think would be an outstanding slasher. Also a very good skinning knife. With that belly towards the tip, I think it would be outstanding. Also, I think it'd be a little bit better in the thrust attack than the 302. Remember, one of my critiques on the 302 were the thickness of the blade. And I still agree. And notice that there's no sharpening on that tip, so as we go forward, we're just pushing the blade in. It's not cutting, we have to push it. The 200, on the other hand, has more of a drop point, and it's sharper towards the tip, so I think it would thrust better, and I don't think we'd lose anything in a slash cut. Excellent. Nice black finish. It's the same finish, just in black, that's on the 302. I like it a lot. Tang stamped on both sides with the model number, type of steel, date of manufacturer. I love how they put the date of manufacturer on. I love that. Another word about the bolt. It has a 3/8 inch bolt on the pivot. I'd much prefer a Torx. You got to be honest, some of what we see here in today's tactical knives is marketing. That they make it very strong and heavy duty to appeal to us, the knife buyer. Whether or not these features are actually needed is something you can decide. I say that that bolt is not needed. It just adds weight. Substantial weight. I'd much rather see a bigger Torx screw, something I can easily carry in the field. I'm not going to be carrying a 3/8 inch wrench with me. Granted, I can use my Leatherman, but then I'm going to ding it all up. Just a thought. There is marketing that goes on. You need to be aware of it, and they're trying to make appealing designs for us. Some of the features, though, however, are overplayed and a little bit too heavy duty. Again, great clip design. You can go to 4 corners on it. This one, of course, I've put on my preferred tip-up carry side. I love the clip on the ZT knives. It's not too big. It's blackened. I would like it to go deeper, in other words, hollowed out with a reverse attachment so we could push this thing all the way down into our pocket, but it's nice. Pillar construction. I would like to see thinner pillars in here to save just a little bit of weight. Those are really heavy-duty pillars, and I think they're a little bit of overkill. Nice jimping on the blade. Actually, outstanding jimping, same as the 302. Great finger choil, nice and deep. Great G10 scales on there. And by the way, those scales are hollowed out. They're drilled out as much as they can be. So it's a great purchase on that knife, just like the 302. And it probably would be very difficult for you to come forward on that blade in a thrust attack. That's the 302. In my opinion, I prefer it over the 302. I'm sorry, that's a 200, this is a 302. And I like the 200. It's a more high value blade with almost all of the strength and cutting performance of its bigger brother.